he's under the most pressure because they expect the most of him. Like, there's very few players in this league that are dependent on more to be the engine of their offense. And maybe part of it is because his skill set is unique, and most teams are not built to sustain a game plan like he forces you to have week in and week out. But he is certainly under the most pressure, and I know that next to the Bengals it says 4-10. That suggests that they are a bad team, but they haven't been bad in the past couple of weeks. They have put up some respectable efforts in those games. Their defense has played well, so I think there's a ton of pressure on Lamar to get them to the playoffs because he is their offense. And we talked about this some yesterday, in that you know that he doesn't have much help, let alone the injuries. Even when they're healthy on offense, he doesn't have a ton of playmakers on the outside. You know that because Des Bryant, who wasn't on the roster the last couple seasons, shows up, and then he seems to be a key piece in their offense. He scores touchdowns in back-to-back weeks. So Lamar Jackson, to some degree, because of his own special talents, this team is built around him. There's so much pressure on him to play well, for them to play well. And with the injuries that they have in the secondary, their guys are not at full strength, from Jimmy Smith to Humphreys to Peters. They're not at full strength right now, so their defense will not be as strong as it normally is. Lamar Jackson has a ton of pressure on him in this situation.
Again, you're wrong. And here's why. I'm going to use your own arguments from our last discussion to tell you why you're wrong. It's not Lamar.
Okay.
It's actually, I'm going to use your own points. It's actually Baker Mayfield. Because based on your reaction to me saying the Browns could possibly challenge the Chiefs, tells you all you need to know about what the narrative is around Baker, right? For instance, if Lamar doesn't make the playoffs this year, what's the narrative coming into 2021? Are we going to suddenly wonder, like, is Lamar the guy in Baltimore? Are the Ravens any good? No, he didn't even need to make the playoffs this year. And next year, we will go into it like, okay, Lamar and the Ravens, yeah, we think they're actually going to be good. If the Browns don't make the playoffs this year, what's the narrative on Baker Mayfield in Cleveland? What is everybody going to be wondering about Baker next offseason, going into that season? It's like, I don't know. Now Baker, first overall pick. Like, what has he really done? Like, every year we're wondering, is this the coach for Baker? Can Baker do it? So to me, Baker is the guy because people still don't. I think when Baker is on, he is dangerous. However, there have been moments that loss to the Jets. I understand all the COVID protocol situations and guys being out and him missing his top 4 receivers. That's no excuse to lose to that Jets team. I'm sorry. And so Baker was extremely upset after that game, and rightfully so, because he knows as a QB, regardless if you have no weapons, you have to beat that Jets team. And the same goes for the Rams too.
Right.
But going into this, like, if Baker doesn't make the playoffs, like, I just think how we look at him is completely different versus what the expectations are for Lamar and how we look at Lamar. Go ahead. Tell me I'm right.
So I thought after yesterday that maybe you didn't like me because you yelled at me. But I know that you really like me after today because you are throwing me some softballs. I appreciate this alley-oop.
I came with my little
I disagree with
I'm
you.
ready.
I disagree with you. I think that the choice has been made, or Baker made his point this year. He's the starting quarterback. He's not as good as Lamar Jackson. But what happens, the reason why there's less pressure on Baker going into this weekend, the Ravens are playing against the Bengals, who beat the Steelers when the Steelers were full strength. The Browns are playing against a Steelers team who is looking past this game. They're not playing their best defensive players. They're not playing their quarterback. There's not a ton of pressure on them in this situation. The Ravens have a game that has a chance to be difficult. The Bengals put up a tough game last week for the Texans, and they put up a tough game for the Steelers in the previous week. The Browns are going into this situation and I understand the COVID difficulties and making it difficult for them to practice, but they're going against a Steelers team that don't care, frankly, whether they win or lose. I understand Mike Tomlin said the standard is the standard, and they're going to get out there and give it their best, but you can't be somebody you're not. If T.J. Watt ain't on the field, whoever's replacing him, you can't be T.J. Watt. You can't be Cam Hayward. You can't be Marcus Pouncey. If you're not him, you can't be him. I mean, Mason Rudolph, you can't be Ben Roethlisberger. So there's not a ton of pressure on Baker Mayfield. And I think the crux of our disagreement is I think both cities, both cities, Baltimore and Cleveland, think they have their quarterback. I think that this year was about, for Cleveland, finding out if they have a coach and finding out if they have a quarterback. They have 10 wins. That is like more than several years combined, the last several seasons combined for them. I think that they know that Baker Mayfield, he's not going to be Lamar Jackson. He's not going to be Patrick Mahomes. He's not going to be Aaron Rodgers. That's fine. But I think they know that he is their quarterback. They know that Stefanski is his coach.
Yeah, agree with you. But if you are the Browns, if you're Baker and you lose to a Steelers team that, as you say, doesn't care, they're going to lay down in Week 17, on top of losing to the Jets last week, that's a totally different feeling heading into the offseason. They may have won 10 games, and yay, let's be happy that the Browns won 10 games. But that's not the goal. The goal wasn't just to win 10 games. Look at this roster. This is a playoff roster. So if they lose to the Jets and lose to a Steelers team that is not starting a lot of their guys, that's a problem.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.